read an article written by a popular evangelical youth minister, and he wrote that a high percentage of the boys, the teenage boys he works with, are already addicted to internet porn. Most of them had been exposed to internet porn before they reached the age of 12. A recent nationwide survey, a government survey taken among young people of high school age, questioned kids about their attitudes toward love, sex, and marriage. And when they asked the boys which was more important to them, love or sex, the vast majority of the boys, of course, answered that they thought that sex was far, far more important to them than love. If they could get what they wanted from a girl, then love was not all that important, and marriage, for most of them, was not even on the radar screen. The girls said the opposite, as you might predict. But think about this. What would you expect from boys who have been enculturated, socialized, taught all their lives to see girls as sex toys, objects to chase after for their own selfish pleasures and ends? I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure this out. These are the rotten fruits, friends, of the contraceptive mentality. It all stems from that. Once you've caved into the idea there is no necessary relationship, no divinely willed link between human sexuality and human life, marriage, human sexuality, and human life, then the floodgates are open. The genie is out of the bottle. Sex becomes merely fun and games. Get as much as you can, any way that you can. Abortion will be the backstop when contraceptives and contraceptors fail. I wonder how many of you saw those incredible, disgusting videos of officials of Planned Parenthood calmly, nonchalantly discussing over lunch how they keep babies alive long enough to harvest their body parts. How babies are born alive and literally butchered for the sale of the body parts. It's like something out of Nazi Germany. This is where we are headed. It is obscene. It is horrific. But do you think the people in Washington really care? Oh, they may make some token showing, but I don't think much will come of it. I don't think so. It's incredible. Scientists now estimate that there are about 400,000 frozen embryos, leftover human embryos from the in vitro business. Pope Francis says that these babies, these human embryos, are the waste products, leftovers of the throwaway culture, the culture of death. Pope Paul VI, in 1968, wrote his famous letter to the world, Humanae Vitae, on human life, a truly prophetic document. But in Humanae Vitae, Pope Paul VI made 5 predictions about what would be the result of the acceptance and use of contraception, sex without responsibility. The first prediction he made was there would be a massive increase in sexual immorality, the loss of the sense of the sanctity of human sexuality. With it, the endless downhill slide into sexual anarchy. The second prediction, with that would come a dramatic increase in marital infidelity, adultery, divorce. A tidal wave of divorce and family breakup with all the emotional and psychological devastation that goes with it. The third prediction, the general acceptance of abortion. Loss of the sense of the sanctity of human life. Sex is the wellspring of life, right? Since the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court decision in 1973, there have been some 56 million abortions in the United States alone, and there is no end in sight. And how many more human lives have been chemically, microscopically snuffed out by abortifacient contraceptives is a number known to God alone. The fourth prediction Pope Paul VI made, he said we would see the systematic degradation and sexual objectification of women, an all-out attack on the dignity of women. And of course, we see the explosion, the plague of pornography, prophecy fulfilled, huh? The fifth prediction, government coercion. He predicted that the government would enforce the tenets of the sexual revolution. Of course, we have seen all of the government-funded, taxpayer-funded population control programs around the country and around the world. With that, of course, Roe versus Wade, now the legal redefinition of marriage, gay marriage, right? Government coercion. Prophecies fulfilled. Amen? My brothers and sisters, we need the mercy of God. We need the mercy of God. In 1933, the Nazi Minister of Education, Hans Schemm, gave a speech. He spoke to a gathering of German university professors, and he said this, quote, "From this day on, you will no longer have to examine whether something is true or not, but only whether or not it corresponds to Nazi ideology." End quote. In other words, the truth became irrelevant. The truth would take a back seat to political indoctrination. And of course, it turned into a nightmare for Germany and for the entire world. Now, we don't call it fascism today, even though that's what it is. We've got nicer names for it now. Political correctness, secularism, progressivism, relativism. Pope Benedict XVI said, it is still part of a dictatorship. No matter what you choose to call it, it is the dictatorship of relativism. The truth is irrelevant. Whatever your opinions are, that is the truth for you. You know, probably most people you might run into outside of your own Catholic friends would seem to have the idea that the church is like some kind of a social club or a political party where we are just free to change the rules as we go along. Like we can, make up the rules as we go. Like we as Catholics are somehow free to change our beliefs to make them correspond to the latest opinion poll. It's true, isn't it? The idea that what the church teaches and what we believe as Catholics is not divine revelation. No. What the church teaches, what we believe as Catholics, we hold to be God's definitive revelation to humanity. Eternal truth, eternal moral law. It does not change. It cannot change. That should make sense to you precisely because God does not change. The truth does not change, and God is the truth. I came across a quotation from Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy recently. He said this, quote, "At the heart of liberty is the right to define one's own concept of existence, of the meaning of the universe, and of the mystery of human life." End quote. In other words, you create your own reality, right? Everybody, in other words, is able to fashion and structure his or her own reality. Now, when I was studying psychology in college, they had a term for that, a term for somebody who creates his own reality. They were called psychotic. This is the new normal, you see. In essence, if you create your own reality, then you become your own God, right? This is what we call paganism. Ours can no longer be called a Christian nation. It is a nation dominated by what we can call neo-paganism. What's paganism? The essence of paganism is idolatry. And the worst, the most insidious kind of idolatry is the worship of the self, the exaltation of the self over God. That's where we are. So we see today this self-deifying radical individualism that places itself over the reality, the objective truth of divine revelation. It's kind of like Adam and Eve. Remember Adam and Eve? They wanted to create their own reality. They wanted to be like God and decide for themselves what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false, what is good, and what is evil without reference to God. That's how sin came into the world. With sin, pain, suffering, misery, death. Here we are again. God have mercy on us. So, friends, here's the question. What do we do now? How do we respond to all this? Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen said, "We've come to a point at which it would seem that most people don't even know they have got souls to be saved." He said, quote, "The soul is gone, and what we call change is only decay. How do we stop it? By reversing the process by which we drove God out of the world. Namely, by relighting the lamp of faith in the souls of men. We need people to be healthy when the world is sick, people to be stretcher bearers when the battlefields are filled with wounded, people to be calm when the house is burning, someone to be right when the world is wrong. This is our mission as Catholic men and women." End quote.